Well, first I wanted to really thank the Volcano Summit and Creative Mornings for creating this space, for us to really connect over a topic that I found to be really important in my own life. And I really want to start this story here. This building right here is called Tiger's Nest. Tiger's Nest is a beautiful Buddhist monastery in the hills of the Himalayas in Bhutan. I had the opportunity to visit Bhutan in 2015, and on the way to Tiger's Nest, I had an amazing conversation with a man that changed my life. You know, at the time I was leading innovation policy for the Costa Rican government, and I was telling him all about innovation, innovation ecosystems, all the stuff that this crowd loves. And at the end he said, David, I think that for you to really take innovation to the next level, you should start meditating. And I said to myself, this guy sounds like he's crazy. Like, what does meditation have to do with innovation? But I actually listened to him, and I took his advice, and it really did change my life. It made me realize layers of what is important in innovation that I didn't know before. And so that's really what I'd like to lean into with you guys today. And I want to start out highlighting a few of the things that I've found to be really important for innovation by focusing our attention on organizing parties. So, see, how many of you guys have organized a party before? Yeah? So let's imagine that we're organizing a party for my best friend. This guy is turning 30. 30 is a big number. It's a really important birthday. And so this has to be an amazing birthday party. It can't just be a normal party. It has to be a really amazing party. And so there's a few things that make up an important kick-ass party. There's a few skills, a few abilities, a few sort of things that really need to be in the mix. One of them is that this party really has to generate a sense of connection. All of the people that my friend most loved and all the people that most love him really have to be there, and it has to be the sense that we're a tribe, that we really cherish this guy, we love him, and hopefully all of the activities really awaken the sense of beauty. And that's really only possible if somebody in the organizing team has leaned into the skill of appreciation. Appreciation is the ability to really see things in the world that you value and to really feel how you value them and honor them. And creating a sense of tribe, a sense of connection depends a lot on appreciation. So we have connection. We're doing good. But in reality, it's not going to be a good party unless it's a fun party. And so it turns out that my friend loves superheroes. And so if we're going to have a party that he really enjoys, we're going to have some kind of creativity around a theme around superheroes. So designing a costume party, it requires creativity. It requires coming up with a concept with fun, self-expression, getting people to really enjoy themselves. And that requires the skill of audacity. Audacity is leaning into what's wanting to express through you, expanding from there. And if we're going to have a party that makes any sense at all for this guy's 30th birthday, it has to have connection and also fun. But I'll tell you what, the chairs and the tables, they're not going to walk themselves to the party by themselves. We also need to have some planning, some logistics, a lot of the food, the sushi bar, all this amazing stuff we're going to have. There needs to be planning, logistics, process, somebody who has a mind for processes behind that. And that's the skill of what we call commitment. The ability to really observe your behavior and organize it in order to be able to make progress. So, we have a nice organized party, we have connection, we have fun. But let me tell you what, since this guy has been a little kid, he has always talked about how he would love to have a water slide going from his deck into the lake, into the pond next to his house. So we've decided that this is going to be the excuse that we need to make this happen. But there's only a small problem, which is that none of us have any idea how to make a water slide. So this is going to require some research. We're going to have to figure out, how do we make a water slide? We're going to have to experiment. How does this actually really sustain the weight of a human being? We're going to have to figure out how to explain to people how to use this water slide. So this really requires the skill of curiosity, which is leaning into and understanding and observing our own ideas with, certain openness for them to evolve as we experiment and learn. But it turns out that there's a lot of very different people that are going to have to go down this water slide. Because my friend has a very, very diverse group of friends. He spent some time in Jamaica and has a Rastafari friend who he really loves and respects a lot. He's worked with indigenous communities. He has a few friends that are mothers. He has a friend who has a visual disability. And he spent some time at a monastery and has a friend that's a monk. How do you organize a party that actually is going to be fun for all of these people? Well, it's going to require some listening. Some listening that really is that skill of empathy, of connecting to what are my own emotions, what are the emotions of other people, and how can we design experiences that really welcome diversity. All of these people, even though it maybe doesn't look like it, love to dance. And so what they really want to do, the one thing that they all have in common, is that they want to dance all night long, and they would prefer to do that in nature. And so if we're going to do that, we really have to somehow design this party so that we're optimizing their vitality. Because if they just dance, without the right hydration, the right food, the right spaces to rest, they're going to burn out pretty quickly, and, around midnight, things are going to fizzle out. So it's not only that. If we're going to do this in nature, in a beautiful setting in this garden, we also have to take care of this garden. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to keep doing this in the future. So now, I would say we have the kind of party that is really what my friend deserves. We have these 6 ingredients. We have connection, we have expansion and fun, we have planning for progress, we have curiosity for learning, empathy for inclusion, and bio-awareness that really allows us to optimize for vitality. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because in my experience, the art of organizing a birthday party is not that different to the art of leading an organization or making a startup successful. You really need to have that same mix of different abilities, that same different mix of ways of leaning into the world in order to create a really impactful, awesome organization. So there's a challenge though, and the challenge is that most of us actually are not really that good at leaning into all these different ways of seeing the world. We're maybe good at 1 or 2 of them, but it's actually as challenging as juggling 6 balls to try and really lean into fully doing all of these things. And that is where we come back to our monastery, because there's one skill, equanimity, that somehow is helpful in learning to lean into and balance and welcome all the others. And so, what is equanimity, you may ask? Well, equanimity is an ability, it's a skill that actually has existed for a very long time. There's people, monks and nuns, that have really refined and developed the art of how you cultivate equanimity over thousands of years, really. And at the core of building equanimity, there's something that we're all familiar with. A lot of us, most of us, probably all of us, there's things in life that we feel very attached to, and there's things in life that we just really don't want to have anything to do with, and that we reject completely. The thing is, a lot of this, for most of us, actually happens subconsciously. We don't even realize that we're going through life clinging and attaching to certain things, and at the same time rejecting others. And that life is really a life on autopilot. If you think about even the best of artificial intelligence today and the kinds of robots that we have today are really reacting to their surrounding based on the programming that they have. Software programs, there's a lot of you here today that know a lot more about this than I do. But if we're living through life reacting by either clinging and attaching to things or rejecting them unconsciously, do we really have free will? Do we really have choice? Do we really have the space to innovate? And so Equanimity is about observing the things that happen in our lives, but observing them with mental stillness. So neither clinging to them nor avoiding them. And so let me give you a quick example with this lady who's meditating. So, she has her eyes closed. She's not observing with her eyes, but she's observing with her ears. And so, probably like most of us, she's a little bit addicted to her cell phone. But as it rings, this clinging intention towards the phone, she observes it and just lets it pass. At the same time, maybe there's dogs barking, and whenever we're trying to focus on anything and pay attention, most of us don't really like there being noise and interference. So she doesn't like that, but she can also observe that and just let it pass. And it turns out that this same ability that people cultivate when they're meditating is actually key to innovation. And what I'd like to do, just so that you have a hands-on, real experience with what I'm talking about, is to invite you to do a very short exercise with me that starts with your breath. It turns out that your breath is actually a really powerful path to the present. And a lot of the different techniques that have been refined and polished in some of the monasteries around the world are based on observing things. And one of the ones that's the most easiest to observe is your own breath. So for those of you that have tried this, if you observe your breath for a while, what usually happens is your mind starts clinging and attaching to things or rejecting other things. And so as you observe your breath, suddenly you realize that your mind is thinking about something else, something that you're a little bit attached to, a little clinging to, or maybe your mind is thinking about how much you want to avoid something else. And the art of just observing your breath and recognizing that this is happening is cultivating the ability to then see these clinging and avoiding patterns when you're just walking through your everyday life. So, that sounds interesting, but I would love for us to together spend some time, just a couple of minutes, to see how that works for you. Okay? So for those of you that are comfortable, I'd love to guide you through just 2 minutes and invite you to just focus on your breath for a couple of minutes. So what I'm going to invite you to do is first, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. You can do this standing up as well, if you'd like. I'm going to do that. And as you're standing up or sitting down, you can feel, as you sink into your body, you can feel the pressure of the floor against your feet. And if you're sitting down, maybe you can feel the pressure of the seat against your legs, your back. And I invite you to just focus on the way in which, as you breathe in and breathe out, your chest expands and your chest contracts. And now I invite you to focus your attention on your nostrils and the way in which, as you breathe in, air is coming in through your nostrils into your lungs. And as you breathe out, it goes back out through your nostrils and into the room. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to just simply focus on your breath and do something very simple, which is, as you're watching your breath come in and out of your nostrils, to try and count 10 breaths. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to try and count 10 breaths with your eyes closed as you focus on your breath. And we'll see how that goes, okay? Start when you're ready. So when you're ready, you can maybe open your eyes. And I'd like to ask you, how many of you, just raise your hand, were able to really focus your attention on counting those 10 breaths? Anybody? Good. There's quite a few of you that could. How many of you found yourselves thinking, there's too much noise in here. There should be less noise. Anybody? Okay. So that's that aversion pattern that we were talking about, right? How many of you just found yourselves gravitating towards, okay, tomorrow I've got to hand in this, I've got to do this, the different things that you need to do, you as well. So congratulations, you have started to lean into the art of equanimity. A lot of people feel that meditating is only done successfully if your mind is blank. But that's not true. Really, the point of meditation is for you to be able to notice what your mind is going towards and then to bring it back. As you learn to do that, then you learn to bring it into your real life, not just as you're sitting down in a chair watching your breath. So doing this is important because it allows us to lean into life on equanimity. So if life on autopilot was simply reacting to wherever my mind is clinging, then life on equanimity is really more about responding. And so if you're able to tell that your mind is going here and mind is going there, but instead of acting on it by running automatically in one direction or saying things in another direction, you have at least a microsecond to notice that that's what happened. Then you're no longer running on autopilot. Now you have freedom to come up with creative responses in the present. So why is this relevant to innovation? This is relevant to innovation because the truth is that a lot of what we consider to be innovation today and what we're mentored to foster and the different things that we hear in a lot of what we've learned about innovation is really mostly focused on audacity, commitment, and curiosity. And so let me share with you some of the mental noise that I experience when I'm connected to audacity, commitment, and curiosity. If I'm really connected to audacity, then maybe it's like, okay, yeah, this is really what I'm good at. I need to just step out of my comfort zone, lean in, develop some skills. Nope, it's not that. Let's place some clear barriers here. It's not this, it's not that. I don't want you to distract me. I'm going to keep going. Oh, let me just position what I'm doing. Let's expand it. Let's grow. Now I really feel like I'm empowered. I'm free. Audacity. That is super important in entrepreneurship. It's super important in innovation. But actually, a lot of us, that's kind of the only kind of mental chatter that we have. The only voice is pulling us in that direction. And it could be that as I'm expanding and positioning myself and leading and really making a difference in the world, maybe I didn't quite lean into listening to my clients enough or my users enough. And it could be that in that process, there might have been something that I could have done differently that would have made it so that what I was doing and my amazing form of self-expressing could really be more useful to them. So if I'm clinging to audacity because my mental patterns are just doing that, then maybe empathy, I'm not really listening to its voice. Let's try commitment and see if any of you relate to this one. Maybe it's like, okay, wow, I have this amazing vision, great, okay, let's set some goals. Now I'm going to take consistent action towards them, bring in some agile methodologies, and make consistent steps. Ooh, there's a deadline, I'm feeling a little anxious. Oh, we achieved it, we got to our goal, yes, sense of achievement. And so that's really the kind of emotions and thoughts that are around commitment. And that also is super important if we want to get anything done. But what would happen if, in the midst of listening to that noise, for example, we're ignoring another little voice down here that's saying, hey, why are you feeding me all this garbage? When are we going to sleep? The voice of bio-awareness we maybe could be ignoring. And so if we're clinging just to audacity, if we're clinging just to commitment, then some of these other voices might be left unheard. And the last one, this is me. Okay, interesting. That's an interesting thing. Maybe what about this? I think if we follow this, maybe if we include this technology, I can get some answers. This sounds like this could really work. but I have this other question, so let's keep exploring, experimenting, doing some R&D, developing products. That's the voice of curiosity, and that's also super important for innovation. But maybe in the midst of following that voice, I somehow disconnect from the fact that, hey, part of me just wants to spend time with my friends, build a dynamic with my team. And so what happens in our innovation and ecosystem world today is that, first of all, we have to celebrate that we're really good at these three things. But if we could bring in some equanimity, instead of just clinging to our mental patterns, which are just recreating patterns from the past around our clinging to these three things, we could also include the other three. So why would this matter? It matters because it allows us to really weave together multiple forms of value. And so if we can weave together these different ways of focusing on reality, then in a way we can do what, in this part of the world is done when artisans weave together a beautiful fabric that really integrates different colors, different perspectives. And so what do I mean by that? What I mean is that if we can lean into appreciation and what we value in the world, we can create community value around belonging. If we can lean into our bio-awareness and what other beings in nature need to be well, then we can create environmental value. If we can connect with our emotions and the emotions of others and people who had very different lives to our own, we can create social value. And those three can complement forms of value that perhaps are more familiar to us, like the economic value of having a clear and unique value proposition, or the economic value of being able to scale because we're very productive in the way we're working, or the value in incorporating knowledge and technology. But there's also another little gift in being able to lean into equanimity, which is that it allows us to really thrive by welcoming all layers of who we are as human beings. Some of you may have heard of positive psychology. It's the whole area of research that really has revealed what it takes for human beings to be well. And it turns out that what we need is exactly the same thing that the world needs for us to be able to combine these multiple forms of value. So if we're able to lean into appreciation, we can build relationships, have positivity, and that brings joy into our lives. If we can lean into audacity, then we can really feel engaged in what we're doing, and that brings a sense of freedom, a sense of empowerment. If we can bring in commitment, then we can set meaningful goals and achieve things and really have a sense of fulfillment. And if we bring in curiosity, we can learn, have a sense of mental expansion. Empathy can bring harmony and a sense of interconnectedness with others. And if we have bio-awareness, it allows us to really honor the vitality of our body and feel energetic. So this all sounds good, but maybe how do we actually implement it in practice is a question you might have on your mind. And so I just wanted to tell you a couple of projects that I'm involved in that are really bringing this into reality. So my company is called Mycelium. What we do is we support organizations that have a really audacious vision of systems change and that know that in order to be able to achieve that, they have to actually go through, as a team, a personal transformation that means bringing in a lot more equanimity. And so what's been amazing is that this school, True North, has had this vision of helping kids really learn how to navigate the world in a way that allows them to really bring well-being into their lives and at the same time become transformational leaders. And so what we've done is we've come up with a program called Awaken Your True North, where every day for 20 minutes, they have a really meaningful experience, most of the time through playing a game, where on Mondays they focus on appreciation, Tuesdays audacity, Wednesdays commitment, Thursdays curiosity, and Fridays empathy. And there's moments to really observe their breath. With these kids, it would be too challenging to ask them to do what I asked you to do. But they can observe these ducks going up and down on their belly as their breath comes in and out. And then the whole school is infused with an environment that's conducive to vitality. So imagine if more organizations like True North really incorporated these ways of viewing the world in their services. And what's amazing is also just to see the way in which the staff have actually gone through the same games that the kids are going through, and how it's making such a huge difference in how happy they are, how fulfilled they are at the school. So actually, this program has been so successful that it's spun off into a startup itself. So we've launched a startup called Awaken Your True North that's bringing this to other parts of the education system. And in the process, in our own journey and in engaging with other entrepreneurs, we realized that there's really a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of innovators, a lot of people who are directing innovation in their companies that are sick of this story of having to really be in survival mode, of being in survival mode to get things done, to go ahead, to innovate, to achieve, to sell, when in reality there's a way of leaning into innovation that really honors our personal thriving. So what we've done is we've launched actually last week an incubator called Resource. So Resource is about somehow being an entrepreneur that reconnects to the source of where innovation really comes from. And for now, we're focusing it on folks who have the same belief that we do, in that a lot of these different skills and ways of leaning into reality and innovation can perhaps best be utilized in this moment to regenerate our planet. So I want to leave you with 3 main invitations. The first is run your organization, your startup, as a kick-ass party. You know? First of all, it should really be fun. But make equanimity the cornerstone of your innovation strategy. And that means that you'll be able to bring innovation into your company in a way that brings well-being to your entire team, and that also really helps you contribute to building the thriving world that we all want. Second, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be good at everything. If you can lean into equanimity, then what's most important is not necessarily for you to be an expert at all of the stuff around audacity and selling and positioning and all of the stuff around commitment and agile methodologies, but to recognize that each of these different perspectives are important. If you can do that, then you can invite different people who have various superpowers into your team to make sure that you have a balanced team. And the third invitation that I'd like to make you is that you might want to consider starting your day by watching and observing your breath. Really, your breath can become a portal, can become a channel to help you connect with a source, with a deep source of game-changing innovation that really is going to make a difference in the world. So thank you very much.